It's a rare thing to experience a piece of art that tries to earnestly express itself with as much fervor and intense intent as the Zero Escape series. In our top 10 list of games that deserve a second chance, this series took our number 1 spot, a choice we do not regret. Now our hopes have been answered. The third and possibly final piece of the Zero Escape series has been released, and as we get our excited hands on it, a lingering question remains. Is the game as good as its forebears, and will it answer some of the lingering questions that the series has left over the years?
Did we all forget what happened?
Hey, could I ask all of you something? Who is this kid?
For those who have never played the Zero Escape series, here is a spoiler for this review. The game is awesome, and you should totally get it. That being said, you should definitely not start the series here, as there are far too many spoilers for the previous games in the series. If you would like to experience this game to its fullest, I would recommend starting at the series beginning, 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. Then move on to its sequel, Virtue's Last Reward. Then, at last, come back to this game. If you don't have the ability to play the games on the consoles they originally came out on, don't worry, as they have stated that they are going to be re-releasing these games soon, most likely on PC. That being said, let's go in depth into the game at hand, but be warned, as the rest of this review will contain spoilers to the rest of the series. And as mentioned previously, Zero Time Dilemma is the end of a trilogy for the Zero Escape series. At least, it appears to be.
You said it earlier, right, Mira? The note Gab brought? It could have been a trap from C-Team.
Right. But that doesn't mean voting for D-Team can be justified. If it really was a trap, there still isn't a solid reason to go against what it says in the note. Because regardless, as long as Diana doesn't flip on us, we may be screwed anyway.
Mira?
There's no way we can justify it by saying we voted this way in self-defense.
The game focuses on 9 people who were originally taking part in a simulation to see the psychological effects of what isolation would do to astronauts on Mars. However, everyone involved in the simulation is captured and forced to play a game of life and death thanks to the enigmatic Zero the Second. Just like all the games in the series so far, nothing is as it seems, and none of the characters are as simple as they might appear to be at first. Amongst the cast are several returning faces, the previous protagonists of past games, Junpei and Sigma, the enigmatic Phi, and the original Zero, Akane Kurashiki. Of the new characters that join our cast, we have our 3 playable protagonists, Carlos, a young firefighter, Diana, a nurse who joined the simulation under the urging of a friend of hers, and an amnesiac child with a dome stuck on their head. There are also 2 new non-playable characters, Mira and her boyfriend Eric, both of whom are as important to the story as the rest of the cast. These characters and the situations they find themselves in are the main pull of the game and the heart of the overall experience. As with past games in the series, metaphysics, paradoxes, and multi-world theory are all central to the story, so don't be afraid to admit that you have no idea what's happening as the story progresses, because eventually everything will coalesce into one narrative that, while not as powerful as the past 2 games, will still deliver a satisfying conclusion. I won't talk about the story anymore here, as it should be experienced raw and without any expectations of what is to come.
What are you trying to say, Akane?
Carlos, let's say you were going to roll 10 dice all at the same time. So, do you think you'd end up with all of them displaying a 1?
Of course not. It's impossible.
Right. The probability is 60,466,176 to 1, but that's essentially impossible. If you tried 60,466,176 times, however, what would happen?
The likelihood of all of them being 1 is...
Not so much of an impossibility, right?
Gameplay-wise, it's mostly the same as the past games in the series. You will come across various rooms, each with their own puzzles that must be solved in order to continue. Each puzzle is generally difficult enough to require a bit of thinking in order to progress, but shouldn't be tricky to the point of preventing you from continuing through the story. This is a good thing, as it helps the player digest what has happened in the story thus far without frustrating them to the point of wanting to give up. After finishing a puzzle segment, the player is usually faced with a choice in order to branch the story. Some of these choices can be as seemingly benign as whether or not to press a button, or as dangerous as putting a gun to a person's head and pulling the trigger, knowing that it has a 50-50 chance of going off. These choices will cause the story to branch into various directions, where you will learn more about the characters and their motivations.
This may be somewhat rude of me to say, but the way you talk, Sigma, is, a little unusual.
Forgive him. The age of his mind and his body are completely different.
Oh, he mentioned that back at DCOM, that his consciousness had come back from the year 2074.
Visually, the game has made some improvements over its predecessors, trading in its visual novel style and instead having the characters fully animated. While it's an interesting change of pace, it suffers from some clunkiness at times with stiff animations at various points in the game, though this is a small detractor from the overall experience. Zero Time Dilemma is a game that focuses on and should be praised for its storytelling and puzzle segments. That being said, if these things do not interest you, then the whole series is probably not going to be that appealing. However, if you have played the Zero Escape games of the past and are eager to see its next installment, I encourage you to give Zero Time Dilemma a try. You won't regret it. Thank you for watching our review of Zero Time Dilemma. If you enjoyed our review, please give us a like and subscribe to us down below. We will soon be doing a new series called Lore Dive, in which we delve into the lore of various game titles, and the Zero Escape series is on our list, so please keep a lookout for it in the future. And as always, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.